Hello, my name is Carolyn A. Brent from CareGiverStory.com. I am proud to introduce to you W.Sandifer, Director of Public Affairs. And I'd like to ask John a question. John, why is it that you want to interview me today?
It's because on your website we have quite a few questions asking about what some of the things that people need to do about caregiving. And one of the things that we get quite a bit of questioning on is the cover of your book is quite unique. What inspired you to put the pelican on the cover of your book?
Wow, what a great question, and I'd love to share with you, John, why I've used a pelican. 30 years ago, my father would come to Los Angeles, California to visit me. I grew up in Denver, Colorado, and in Denver, Colorado, there is absolutely no Pacific Ocean at all. So when Dad would come to California during the month of March, that was his birthday visits, I would take him to the ocean. And on one particular Wednesday afternoon, I'll never, ever, ever forget this. It was a very misty, cloudy day, and there were seagulls flying and pelicans literally soaring in the sky, up, up, up. And my father, being a pastor, he looked at me and he said, "Carolyn, do you see that pelican way over there?" And I'm looking at, "Yeah, Dad, I see that pelican." He said, "Imagine if that pelican only had one job to do in life." And I said, "Well, Dad, what job is that?" He said, "Imagine if that pelican had to take one grain of sand off of the earth, fly all the way to the moon, and fly back down to the earth, and literally taking all the sand off the earth until there's no more sand left." And then Dad looked me in my eyes, John. He said, "How long do you think that would be?" And I looked at Dad and I said, "Dad, that's no brainer. That would take forever, eternity." And at that moment, that was the first time I can recall my father talking about the prospect of him dying. I did not want to talk about death and dying. I was going like, "Oh, Dad, I'm only 21 years old. I don't want to talk about you dying. After all, death is so far away." But my father looked at me and said, "Carolyn, when I'm gone to glory, I want you to think of that pelican flying all the way to the moon with one grain of sand, going back to the earth and flying all the way back to the moon. And that's how long my love will be with you, for eternity." And after that, John, when I decided to write a book in honor of my father, of course, the pelican was the only thing I could put on the cover that represents a new beginning, that's life, a new life after we leave this planet. And also, when I become sad and when I start to grieve, I think about my dad, that his love will be with me forever. So that's why the pelican is on the cover.
That's quite unique. Thank you for that answer. Another question we have is, how do you select the primary family caregiver? What's the process, and what are the criteria that you use to do so?
You know, that is an excellent question. First of all, the parents and baby boomers, your parents out there, you are parents and you have kids in your 20s, kids in your 30s, and some in your 40s, baby boomers. So I'm talking to you. The primary criteria that you should look for is someone that is very responsible. Now, what do I mean about responsibility? Let's say that you have 7 kids. Some of the kids are, let's say, not doing so well financially, or maybe some of the kids are just not having a relationship with that parent. Every parent knows their child, so they should select the primary caregiver based on, are they responsible? Are they responsible medically? Are they responsible financially? Does that kid love you? Now, would you select a primary caregiver as your fiduciary, one of your children, if you and that child fights all the time and that child doesn't even care for you? I would say no. You want to select it based on love, a person that's stable, and a person that's willing to give their life to that parent. Because when you are a caregiver, your life is put on hold, and then your parent's life becomes your life. I know that when I cared for my dad, I just simply said, I put my dad's life in front of my life, and I did that for many, many, many years. So it's really based on the love that's involved. The parent should really choose. Often that I've heard, as far as people that I've interviewed, a lot of parents do not want to select a particular child of theirs to be the caregiver because they're going like, well, I don't want to play favoritism. Parents, if you don't do that, if you don't make that choice while you are in your right mind, while you are healthy, boy, oh boy, you don't want a disgruntled child to come in and make end-of-life decisions for you. You may not live to tell the story, and I'm only sharing because I have true stories in my book, Why Wait?, as to what can happen when there's sibling rivalry, when the parents may try to do everything to put things in place, but nowadays there's more safeguards for that parent and the caregiver if they know what to look for. And my book points everything out. So it should be based on love, responsibility, no greed attached. That's another one. Often adult children think, oh, I want to take care of mom, or I want to take care of dad. You can't just throw your parent in a nursing home or an assisted living and walk away. Oh no, that's when your job is only going to be just begin. You must visit that parent all the time, stay actively involved in that parent's life.
Thank you. Important information. And the last question we have for you is, at what age should you start preparing for your parents' death?
John, that is an excellent question. I feel the earlier the better. And what I mean by that, I would say as early as 12 years old. And the reason why I say that, think about it. Most Americans, they always talk about, if I die, I want you to do XYZ for me, if I die. Now, it's not if you die, it's when you die. So when children are really very interesting. They're not afraid of anything. We as adults put fear in young kids. So my father started really trying to have that conversation with me when I was 12, but of course I didn't want to hear it. And then again with the Pelican at the age of 21, I still didn't want to hear it. I'm going like, Dad's never going to die. He's my hero. He's going to be here forever. But now looking back in retrospect, once a parent feels their child is mature enough, and I'll say by the age of puberty, they should sit them down and share with them about death and dying, because it's a part of life. We were born to die, and families can mend together if they prepare in advance for that sudden, unexpected emergency. And think about this, when a person dies, everybody's always in shock. Why is that? Have you ever thought about that? We know that we're born to die. And just like one of my past guests, Bernice Tingle, 65 years old, and she's taking care of her mother, 102 years old. So our parents are living longer, but not necessarily in the best health. So why wait is all I have to say. Why wait? Go to any of the bookstores, also Amazon, and audio books is Why Wait will be there.
Thank you so much for giving us answers to these important questions.
Thank you, John.